Thank you, first of all. Nicholas beat me to it, and probably a few others, by calling himself the first pessimist here today. So I'll just have to say that I'm just going to introduce a burst of cynicism into that, and then we're sort of joining things up. Close to the microphone? Yeah, okay. I like walking around, I'm sorry. As we all know, social media have enhanced communication and bada, 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 bada. But, and this is the wonderful part, you get to say but. There are some problems. Now, the good part is, of course, being able to come closer to those rights that we were somehow believed to be promised in the 1700s. I mean, freedom of press, freedom of speech, and they were really nice. We had Habermas been mentioned today already, but today, the freedom of the press and freedom of speech are not real freedoms for a large group of small people, to quote another Swede, by the way, who was very criticized for that. Now that we have the technology, we are bringing in infrastructure, but of course, just sprinkling the internet on things, another quote there, doesn't help. There are some threats to this situation. One of them is the really, really old, boring one of state surveillance and who cares. Actually, it's a more interesting thing because slight use or misuse of social media increases state surveillance. It helps state surveillance. So instead of actually being activism on social media or activism via social media, we tend to see states following people via social media. That's lots of fun. It's also very scary, actually. The real problem, and most of us should know this, and most of us don't, is the end lies are used in this agreement. It's that wonderful document going on and on and on, telling you how they want to protect your rights and then how they will rape you completely. How many of us read them? Very few. Other problems, of course, are basically ourselves. The toys we surround ourselves with are actually our downfall in many cases. While we have the infrastructure to use them for useful measures, we tend to use them for other stuff. This is, of course, a value judgment, me saying that other stuff would be less important than activism, but I think it is. One of the greatest threats, of course, is the actual problem of slacktivism, which I think is a really silly term, but I have to use that because it's sort of, accepted. Now, slacktivism is not an easy thing to define, but I would like to say how many people on Facebook compare to or sum up to or equal to one person on the street. Creating, and I've almost grown to, I think most of us have almost grown tired of the wonderful amount of groups and support things we should be supporting on Facebook or other social causes which we get information of, is now becoming a regular thing. We just go, click, no, not interested, or click, yes, I am interested, but we don't really care. The information overload via Facebook and other social media is a problem. And there's one last thing that I sort of have to bring up, and this is a wonderful quote by George Orwell, and it concerns, self-censorship. At any given moment, there is an orthodoxy, a body of ideas which is assumed that all right-thinking people will accept without question. Anyone who challenges the prevailing orthodoxy finds himself silenced with surprising effectiveness. Now, I thought, naively, that self-censorship would sort of slightly disappear once we gave individuals the ability to communicate in the way they wanted to. What I have realized more and more via research is that it doesn't. In fact, it goes the other way. Our need to present ourselves as right-thinking and right-wearing and right-whatever is so strong that even though we have the ability to choose our groups and to be totally different, we tend not to. This is a very big problem. Besides being totally cynical, I want to have some things we do need. And the first one is courage. Now, Nicholas mentioned the stick thing here, and I don't really believe in the stick. That's probably because I'm Swedish. What we do need is the strength or encouragement by example. And you can actually teach courage as much as you can teach fear, but we have to keep pushing forward the really good ideas, the really good examples. And it's amazing how few good case studies are pushed forward properly. We tend to see the Terry Joneses, And of course, yes, he got a lot of media. So did Old Spice. What does it mean? We need to actually push forward better examples, and they have to become more exciting to people who really don't care, or to people who are being their attention is being taken away by lots of other stuff. We need enhanced privacy rights, obviously from the state, but also from the people who are spying on us who are not the state. This is a really, really obvious one, and we tend to go, yes, we need that, and then it sort of fritters away. We need a tolerant state. We are now, in many countries, and Sweden, we have wonderful ideas of freedom of press, freedom of information. We have this wonderful old tradition. But now that we are applying it to the internet, we see lots of really interesting statements like, well, when we said freedom, we didn't really mean it in that way. Wait, either you mean it or you don't, well, you know. So yes, tolerant states, and states that are tolerant of non-traditional uses of media. The fact that you could write a letter to the editor doesn't mean you should have to do that on Twitter as well. Yes, well, this one's a pretty given one. I'm sorry. You know you're not doing it. You should be. I love the Facebook. The whole Facebook debate about privacy is wonderful. I just love the way they begin the privacy or integrity part with, "We are here to protect your integrity." And then it goes on for 6 pages and how they're not going to do that. It's like, wonderful. It's doublespeak. Okay, but there's one more thing, and I think basically we are too stupid for our own good. It's kind of like when people argue, in some countries they still do, but argued that it's my right not to wear a helmet on a motorbike. It's my right not to have a car belt. Car belt? Oh, never mind. It's my right to keep smoking in public places. By the way, I was totally shocked yesterday. I went out and was in the bar and someone lit a cigarette. I almost went, I went, can't do that here. The fact is, people are not naturally smart. We do not naturally increase our gene pool in the right direction. Maybe we should be limiting user autonomy. Ooh. Okay. I want to end on a positive note, since I'm just bringing you down here. There was a wonderful election in Sweden. Lots of things happened which shouldn't have happened, and lots of things happened which should have happened. But one of the things that shouldn't have happened, according to the Swedish mentality, was that a racist party actually gained power. And it wasn't really the fact that they gained power, that didn't shock us that much, but the fact is who voted for them, or which regions voted for them. It wasn't any longer the the domain of the hillbillies or these odd people in the woods, which we do have quite a few. They were actually living in cities. They were actually educated people, and they voted for the wrong party. 2 young idealists who we tend to go, at least I tend to go, oh God, not 2 young people, started a Facebook group. I think, oh, that's never going to work. And they started, they collected they wanted to collect their friends for a funeral march or against racism, actually. And in 13 hours, the group had gained 2,900 users, or people, whatever you want to call them. The march actually went out on the streets, and 5,000 people, and this is like, I know most people come from countries which actually don't, 5,000 is not that big, but Sweden has 9 million people. Gothenburg has 600,000 people. No, sorry, yes. So 5,000 is a lot of people, and it was raining. So 5,000 people actually went out in the rain because of this organization. So we see the platform actually works. It also brought a very interesting side effect. Because if the platform works, as the police said, they were very happy that this happened, they went very well, very quietly, but it's actually quite hellish to organize 5,000 people walking around in the center of Gothenburg within 13 hours. They didn't know it was going to happen. So that's another problem. But it was a wonderful effect, and it actually worked. So the platform works. Thank you very much. And by the way, I just have to do one more thing. I'm Creative Commons lead. All my pictures are from Flickr. They're licensed, everything. The slides are on SlideShare. Thank you very much.